You're listening to this on publishing day. It is Black Friday, the end of what has been a very peculiar week here in Nova Scotia. And if you're anything like me, you kind of feel like you didn't really get much accomplished this week. And if that's you and you're feeling a little stressed out about that, this episode is for you.
You're listening to the Wellness Simplified podcast. Simple wellness tips to help you improve your life without turning it upside down. With your host, award-winning fitness instructor, nutrition coach, and wellness expert, Susie Fevens.
Like I said in the intro, it has been a very weird week here in Nova Scotia, and I know I have listeners who are outside of Nova Scotia. So we started off the week in our happy little Atlantic Canada bubble where we could go from Nova Scotia to New Brunswick to PEI to Newfoundland without any quarantining regulations or whatever. But as of the time I'm recording this, the bubble is no more. PEI in Newfoundland left on Tuesday or Monday. They left on Monday, I think. And then just today, Thursday, New Brunswick has pulled out of it. So now no matter where we go outside of Nova Scotia, when we come back, we have to quarantine for 2 weeks. And depending on where we go, when we leave Nova Scotia, we may have to quarantine for 2 weeks when we get there. We got a bunch of new cases. Yeah, things are a little bit crazy right now. And between that and Christmas and life in general, it doesn't feel as though it's been a very productive week. So I thought we would revisit a concept that I shared before, either here on the podcast or in a video. I can't really recall. I'm pretty sure it was the podcast though. And that is how to reduce overwhelm. When you feel like you've got a million things to do and it feels like you're getting nowhere fast, how do you prioritize and how do you decide what needs to be done and how do you let go of what doesn't? So earlier today, I had a message from the lovely Lorraine, hello, if you're listening, asking if I had a blog post for her to edit. She does my editing, and I told her I do not. I have been very good the last month or so with having things done in advance, like a week or two in advance, and then this week everything just fell to pieces and I have no blog post. And I am not going to have one because that's one of the things that I decided to let go of. I looked at my list of things that need to be done and writing a blog post just was not important enough for me to prioritize that. I looked at my list just before I came to record this and I said, what on this list actually needs to be done today? Thursday is when I'm recording. And the first thing I saw was, you know what? I need to go record that podcast. It's supposed to publish Friday morning. And while it is one of the things that I could let go of if I wanted to, because this is not a real income driver, I decided, no, I'm going to at least get a podcast episode out, and I'll tell you why a little bit more in a few minutes, but it was one thing that I need to get done today. I have a live workout that I was planning to record. Well, actually, originally I was going to record it as I'm sitting here recording this, but I decided I need to go on a quick errand, and I moved the live class to this evening. I've been trying not to put classes in the evening aside from my Tuesday evening class, but in this instance, it seemed like the best way to get everything done. And so I moved it, and that's one of the benefits of doing things from home is I have a little bit more flexibility. And because the class is recorded, if somebody can't attend it live, they're going to be able to catch the replay later. And then everything else on my list is stuff that I would like to have done in order to still be sort of ahead of the game. And there's some things that need to be done before the end of the day tomorrow, but I don't need to kill myself to get them done today. It would be great if they got done, but it isn't absolutely essential. So let's bring this back to how we reduce overwhelm. I've got a list that is long. It's really pretty long. And if I just looked at that and felt like I need to do all of these things today, I would get overwhelmed. In fact, I was overwhelmed until I remembered my own rule. And then I do what I call the Reuben. So in my previous life and in a regular job, quote unquote, I worked in an office and I had a coworker. His name was Reuben, and he was notorious for getting flustered over everything. Like if he had 3 pieces of paper on his desk, even if it only would take 5 minutes to take care of what he had to do with those pieces of paper, you could hear him in his cubicle, like picking them up, shuffling through them, like tapping them on the desk, and then you would hear the where he just shuffles the papers, throws them on the desk, sighs some more, gets up, walks around, goes back, sits back down, shuffles them, sighs. That is the picture of overwhelm in my mind. And as soon as I start doing that, I say, oh my gosh, I'm doing the Reuben. And so this is my coping mechanism when I start to do that. I look at my list and I look for the 2 or 3 things that absolutely need to be done in that day. Now, ideally, I would do all of the things. I would get them all done in an ideal world. But this week especially has not been an ideal week, and all of those things are not going to get done. And that is why I try to stay in a place where I'm working a week or 2 ahead of schedule, so that when I have a week like this, it doesn't send things into a tailspin. So when I looked at my list just now, the number one thing I said, okay, I need to do my podcast so that I can have that published in the morning. Because if you think I'm getting up at 6 a.m. to record for our 7 a.m. launch time, you are mistaken. So I need to do that. The second thing I know I need to do is I need to record that live class, because I have scheduled it. People know that it's happening. They're expecting it to happen. I've already changed the time, which is abnormal for me. I rarely do that. But truth be told, I had to go to the Kingston Superstore because they have that deal where if you spend $100 on general merchandise, you can get 40,000 bonus points, and I need those bonus points. So Shoppers Drug Mart's mega bonus redemption this weekend, I can now get $300 worth of free stuff instead of 2. Anyway, so it was essential, and I wanted to go in the afternoon versus the evening. It's going to be busier in the evening, so I decided to just move those things around. So those are my 2 things that absolutely need to be done today, and because I'm in the midst of doing one right now, and then I have one a little bit later this evening, I'm going to have time to get a third. So I picked what I figure is the next most important, and that is to make sure that the class schedules are ready for next week for Well for my yoga and my body sculpt people, and to have their email ready to go out on Sunday morning. It doesn't necessarily need to be done today. I can do that tomorrow. If I run out of time, I can do that tomorrow. But if I get it done today, it'll be one less thing that I'm thinking about. And then tomorrow, I'll do the same thing. I will choose the 3 things that are most important on that list, get those done first, and then if I have time, which I hopefully will, I can tackle a few more of them. And you might think, you know what, Susie, this is stupidly simple. Like, obviously, you're going to do the things that need to be done first. Well, are you though? Because when I look at a long list, my natural instinct is to do the easiest things first. And a lot of times, those are the things that you can really let slide. One of the things on my list is scheduling Facebook and Instagram posts for next week. I mean, if I don't do that, the world is not going to end. If I don't post a couple Christmas pictures on Instagram next week, like, nobody is going to care. It's going to make me feel better, but it's not going to drive my bottom line. It's not going to bring me in money. I can let that go. But I need to record classes for my clients because they are paying for those and they are expecting those. So that is not something that I can just let slide. So it really is important to prioritize. And when you prioritize, suddenly the level of overwhelm drops considerably when you take a hard look at your to-do list and what actually needs to be done on that day. Not what you would like to have done, but what needs to be done. You can reframe it, and your overwhelm lowers. Your anxiety can lower. You're also prioritizing. You can better manage your time because you are getting the things that need to be done first. And most times you will find that once you get those done, you have a good pocket of time left that you can start tackling some of those other items. But you don't want to be Reuben. You don't. You don't want to be just shuffling the papers, sighing, getting up, sitting back down, which honestly is what I've been doing for the last hour. So it happens to us all. Figure out what the 2 or 3 things that absolutely need to be done on that list are, and do those. Anything else that gets done is a bonus. And that is it for this week's episode. A nice, actionable episode. Look at your to-do list. Find the 2 or 3 things that need to be done today, and focus on those, and let anything else that gets done be a bonus. And this is also the last episode of November, and I want to let you know that going into February, oh my goodness, going into December, let's not fast forward right through to February, going into December, I'm going to be sharing meditations, yoga nidras on Fridays because December can be a stressful month, especially this year. And I want to just give you some extra tools to help you get through the month. So for the next 4 or 5 Fridays, you will be able to enjoy a meditation that you can save and listen to when you go to bed or when you're taking an afternoon break or whatever your practice is. If you don't have a practice, this would be a great time to start one. So that's my gift for you for the month of December is going to be some meditations and yoga nidras. And my gift for you today is to go prioritize your to-do list and cut yourself some slack. It's been a tough week. Just cut yourself some slack. I will talk to you next week in my meditation voice. I'll see you then.